the Executive Director of Eastern Caribbean Alliance for Diversity and Equality. And this network it's an umbrella organization of LGBT women and girls and health organizations across the Caribbean, across the Eastern Caribbean to be more specific. And just want to say a hearty welcome. Today is today this webinar will be part of our Wednesday series to keep members of the Alliance and our wider network engaged during this time. These sessions aim to create a space to maintain connectivity among us and to stimulate our community with distant and struggling solitude due to COVID-19 control measures. ECADE will use this platform to continue capacity building, capacity development, sensitization of the grassroots human rights defenders and organizations, particularly in the Eastern Caribbean. It also serves to highlight issues and activities of note. Each session will provide an activist within ECADE's network the opportunity to share their knowledge and experience and further develop their facilitation/presentation skills. Today's session on media and advocacy is led by Milton Coy, a trainer, consultant, and activist, human rights and social advocate, managing director of Concept News Network, as well as founder/president of the Grenada Human Rights Organization, Inc., and lead facilitator with CAMS Training Institute. Milton is also a graduate of UWI St. Augustine's program doing the mass media. And he has done many other trainings to ensure he has built this capacity, including the diplomacy and advocacy certificate with the Boston School of Journalism. He also represents human rights interests at the Human Rights Coordinating Committee of Grenada. Now, just as we continue, I'd just like to note that, for all of us to know that this session is being recorded. So if someone missed it or if there's anything in addition, that can certainly be shared. And also, as we continue, please keep your mic on mute unless you are actually sharing something. And if you have any queries or questions, you can either use the raise your hands up, or you can also drop it in the chat, which we can read after. It's really a pleasure to be able to see a few of you on here. And thank you so very much again for making the time to be here. And right now, I will turn over to Milton Coy of the Grenada Human Rights Organization, a member of the Alliance. Milton, welcome. Milton, can you hear us now?
Okay, thank you very much, Kenita. Thank you very much, Kenita. Sorry. Yes, it's Wednesday the 4th, November, and it's certainly a pleasure and a privilege to share in this webinar and to provide some insights into the media and advocacy. All right, so let me get straight into it at this time, and let me also welcome all our participants, and I do look forward to a lively discussion because at the end of it, I anticipate that we're going to have some questions. Now, this what I'm doing today is an insight into engaging the media for activism. And think about that. Think about engaging the media for activism. And so that's basically the intention here. Why are we doing this today? Why? Because we want to enhance activists. We want to also enhance journalists and advocates. We also wish to develop and build capacity in advocacy. We also need to enable networking with various media outlets, as well as to create a passion for action. At the end of the day, we would like everybody to understand the role of the media in regards to effecting change through advocacy and community journalism. Let me say here also that this presentation is divided in two parts. Part one focuses on media. We'll go into some media, and the second part we will focus on advocacy. And let me also say that you can probably keep your questions so you can ask them after the presentation. Now, what is media? We are going into the media. And as you can see on our screen, we are saying that media is the communication outlet or tool used to share and deliver information or data. The term refers to components of mass media communications to the mass media communications industry, such as print media, publishing, news media, photography, cinema, broadcasting, radio and television, and advertising. So it's a broad term, mass communication. You might hear the expression mass media. What are the roles and functions of the media? I guess all of us, in our own ways, have a general understanding as to what the roles and functions of the media and what they are of the media. Now, I am part of an organization, a training institute called CAMS Training Institute, and we teach journalism. We seek to enhance journalists, those who are just coming into the field. We give them an introductory course. And in our teaching, we say that generally speaking, and if you go to any media curriculum, they will tell you that the roles and functions of the media are to inform, to educate, and to entertain. I'm making this point by talking about CAMS because we feel it was very important for us to add a fourth one. And we are talking about not only to inform, to educate, or to entertain, but also to interpret. And we're going to go into all of that at this time. What is the media's role to inform? Media relates to unbiased information. Of course, we want to stress on the word unbiased, pertaining to government, the citizens, the economy, and general development. The role is to inform, and you know that we get a lot of our information through the media. For example, right now there are millions of people all over the world glued to the media, some form of the media, to know what's the result of the US presidential election. It also refers to various communication channels through which it disseminates news, music, education, promotional messages, health campaigns, for example, and other data. Talking about health campaigns, I think in a time as COVID, we all get a deeper appreciation of the media as we rely daily to get information as to what is happening with our health and health generally. So the media informs. We know, you go to work, you go and do what you're doing, and at the end of the day, we all sit around the television or cell phones and we find out what has happened while I was away. The media's role to educate. The media provides knowledge, and it's important, knowing why and how to adjust if needs be. So again, similar to information, knowledge here, is close to information, basically, in terms of informing. And so the knowledge that we have is not just for us to keep it to ourselves. The knowledge that we get is to help us to navigate several things, life. For example, you know, you go to this pharmacy and you want to buy something, you would read the labels, and you'll know if it is in keeping with regulations, etc. So, you know, it provides knowledge, that kind of, and it requires adjusting if need be. Different to the media in education, we ask, what is the difference? Now, the role of media in education is evident today by the number of computer labs, television sets, and libraries that have become part of the curriculum in most schools today. So the media is used as a tool to educate, as well as a tool, a means of educating the public on what has to happen or what has not or should not happen. Okay, that's the media's role to educate. The media is not only there to inform and to educate, but the media provides levels of entertainment, arts and music, humor, etc. That's where you get those things. You go to the media and you find out about the Grammys, you find out about what's happening in Carnival in various places, you find, you know, what's the most popular music available. And you might follow your artist or someone who you look up to. So in this case, it provides levels of entertainment. So we ask the question, what is entertainment? The media and entertainment industry consists of film, print, radio, and television. These segments include movies, TV shows, radio shows, news, music, newspapers, magazines, and books, and I guess we can go on in terms of the industry. Now, it is true that media is playing an outstanding role in strengthening the society. Its duty is to inform, educate, and entertain people. Of course, we also talked about the media's role to interpret. Now, I said earlier on that from our school of journalism that we teach, we include interpret as one of the functions and roles. Now, why is it important for us to understand that as media people, we do have a role, a part to assist the layman to understand what we are writing or what we are saying, audio, visual, whatever it is. The media provides analysis of issues and events. That's why you have columnists. That's why we have people who do an analysis. They interpret what is said. The media explains what does it mean. Not just informing you, not just entertaining you, not just educating you, but we give you an appreciation of what we are saying, what does it mean, and how will it affect you as an individual, as a citizen, as a community. So the media's role to interpret is very, very important. Because, you know, we can read things, we can see things, and understanding it is very, very important. And so these four roles and functions, namely talking about the role to inform, the role to educate, the role to entertain, and the role to interpret. These four roles really gives a synopsis of what the media is all about. You know, from press conferences to interviews, the reporter, the journalist helps readers to or viewers to understand the issues at a down-to-earth level. So that's basically the four roles of the media as we functions and roles of the media. Now, activities of media personnel, people who write and reporters and journalists, to do research, to do research. Now, I always tell people who are engaged in discussions as it relates to media and media studies, research is a very, very important component in this trade. It is a sad day when we would be accepting the fact that we can say things that we have not done any proper research on. Just our feelings, just what we think. Media people, we do have to do research, and we know what research is. You compare what you have, this person's account to that account. So the issue is, it is the foundation for building a story on article research. Where did you get your information from? Who said it? Why? And under what circumstances was it said? The media activities also include, we conduct interviews, interviews one-on-one, might be in a group. These days we are seeing a lot of virtual media presence. We also do interviews via Zoom and other platforms. We also need to have a critical or investigative mind, always willing to ask the question, why? Why? Why is this so? Why do we see a balance, imbalance in this account, for example? We need to ask the question why. Always have an investigative mind, really. That's one of the things that media people do. And as well as we also keep up to date with issues regarding areas being covered, for example, finance and environment, etc. So we have activities, we have things that we do as a media, and we do research, we conduct interviews, and we keep up to date, as well as we seek to ask that question, always willing to ask the question, why? Now, the media and society. Now, this, what I've just spoken about, is really related to the media. It is an introduction, really. We're not getting into deep issues as it relates to the media and what it does, etc. So the media and society, I would like probably us to begin with these questions. Does the media influence society, or society influences the media? I really would like to get some answers, and probably for those of you who are on right now, probably can take some notes, and you can even indicate really, your thoughts on whether the media that we just talked about, does it influence society, or society influences the media? I also want us to answer these questions. What is news? What is news? Whenever I talk about news, I like to give the example. News is, this is an example so you can understand what is news. News is man bites dog. It's unusual. What? Man bites the dog. But if you see a statement, the dog bites the man, you don't pay attention to it. I mean, we expect dogs to bite man, but yes, so in terms of news, it is not simple as saying the dog bites the man. That doesn't attract any attention or any desire to want to find out. So I am saying that I explain it by saying, when you see dog bites man, well, you raise your eyebrow because it's something strange, really. As well as the questions we all look at, the media is considered as a fourth estate. What does that mean? And I think this is very, very important when we understand and when we link our role as advocates. The media is considered to be the fourth estate. Now, the fourth estate is basically in democracies and countries, the state is really governed, or it functions with the legislature, of course, Parliament, the cabinet, the executive is the cabinet, and also we have we also have, let me take it again, we have the legislature, or judiciary, yes, the judiciary, legislature, and executive. And what is the fourth estate? The media is regarded as the fourth estate in the sense that it is linked. It plays a very important role in transparency, in the functionalities of the state, of the arms of state. And so it is important that we understand that the media really has power. It sits alongside and it's given the same kind of weight as the legislature, those people who meet in parliament and pass laws, as well as the executive, the cabinet who meets and decides what they're going to do for communities and so on, as well as the judiciary. And all of these arms are separated, are independent of each other. Yeah. So the media also is what I'm saying sits inside of this platform as well as to the state. So the media is considered as the fourth estate. And I said it is important for us to understand that as advocates, because we have the presence. We can be at the table to ask questions. Remember I said earlier on, asking why. I wouldn't mind that, don't just accept things as they give. And as advocates, I'm saying here, we need to understand that our role is important. As we navigate the media to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish, like our messages, our points of views, etc. So I want everyone to pay attention to these questions, and probably at the end of it, you might be able to probably make some comments. I really would like to hear responses in regards to does the media influence society, or society influences the media, as we go on. How does the media operate? Traditional media. We have print, we have newspapers, we have journals, we have newsletters. Electronic, we have radio, television. Now we have internet, online platform, etc. Social media, email, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., etc., etc. The media. How does the media operate? These are outlets that we share. So I'm asking you if you have any questions, but I have a few questions that I'll ask early on, so we can trade off here. In other words, I mean that you can answer the questions that I've asked, and you might want to ask me some additional questions. And this part is very, very important, because I think it is important that we engage each other at this level. So I will rest here for now. And,
if you look in the comments, I think some people have had some comments up in the chat.
Okay, I will try and access it now, please. Okay, chat. Okay. I'm just trying to get the questions in chat, please. Okay, media and advocacy, I think it's sort of like the chicken and the egg. I see it as, that's coming from Bennett Charles. Thank you, Bennett, for the question. I think it's sort of like the chicken and the egg. I see it as a sort of symbiotic, parasitic relationship. All right, Caroline is also asking this question. Of course, the first one basically is a comment, which yes, I see, I understand what you are saying, Bennett. From Caroline said, I believe the media influences society more. Okay, she's answering the question. I believe the media influences society more than society influences the media, because the information that is spread across the masses can shape their opinions on the topic based on how it is presented to them. right. I think that's a very good response. So Carolyn says that the media, the society influences the media more. I may have missed some of the comments. Deborah is also saying that Deborah B, of course, she is saying British from St. Croix, and welcome, Deborah B. You know, from Bennett again, great to be here. Of course, yes, we thank you. And of course, our able president, Director Kenita has answered the question. And I think that we do have one more question. Okay, somebody asked another question. Your take on media houses or journalists that have seen to take particular political positions. These are things that happen. And a media house has an editorial staff. They have an opinion, and that is where it is shared. It is not necessarily shared through articles, unless it's a commentary or an analysis, etc. But in terms of a report, a news report has to be factual. What it is, it says what it is. And you're asking my take on media houses. Well, I don't think it is proper. I think while I do agree and I would encourage everybody to have an opinion on something, you have a right to be, if you want to support party A or party B, you have a right to, but in the line of your profession, I think you have to be professional and you have to be ethical. You cannot seek to influence other than an opinion piece. Yes, so again, the other question here says, would you speak on fake news? Fake news. I've always had some issues with the issue of fake news. I guess what would someone say would be the opposite of fake? If it's not fake, it is real. Yes, fake news and news of that sort is intended to misinform, and we're talking about informing. We want to pass on misinformation. That's what fake news, in the context of what we're talking about here, is really. But we would like to encourage information that is factual, reliable, etc. Lobin says she shares Carolyn Harris's views. I agree also with Carolyn. She says about the media, the society influencing the media somehow. Let me go back to what Carolyn says. Says, I believe the media influences society more. The media influences society more. Okay, all right. So there are some people who are agreeing. The media comes from the society. If society does not have activities, if society don't have things taking place within society, what would the media report? What would they have to say? So the media depends on what is happening in society to report it. So if one day, for example, some villagers decide that, listen, we're going to do some things, that's where the news will come, information and news will come from. So let's keep with it. Sometimes it's who determines it's fake news, right? Who determines it's fake news? And I try to explain the issue of fake news, misinformation. When we're talking about misinformation, we're not talking about news that the functions and roles of the media per se. The media is not to misinform, not to give false news, not to say that what you know is not true. All right. There's a question I think I missed. I did not. What are some of the ways we can cultivate relationships with journalists or media personnel beyond our island? Some of the ways. Well, if we are in the same cause, if as media people we are in the same cause, like advocates and advocates of all kinds of different causes. So if as media people we are in the same cause and we need to strengthen that, our work, be professional, etc. You know, understand the depth of our work and knowing what we do. Talking about that, though, I saw somewhere just last week one of the organizations I linked to talking about the media at the forefront of change. I'll speak more on that in the second part when we deal with advocacy. So the media also can cultivate change. The media also, once media personnel come together, certainly they can build a strong bond, build strong relationship, but only across islands. Inner islands, but across the region. And I must say here that there's definitely a need for us as media people to come together and understand the seriousness of our role. I said a while ago that the media ranks among the judiciary, ranks among the cabinet in sectoral status and importance, and the legislature. So we need to strengthen ourselves to know how we can function properly. And so how can we do it? I think we need to come together through our media associations, empower media people and media houses to engage in training, because that's the only way in which we're going to get stronger, through training, the knowing how, etc. Somebody asking a question here, what did I say about interpretation is key, especially in the decision about what is newsworthy. What you said about interpretation is key, correct, thank you. You know, interpretation, I may say something here to you and how it comes over to you. You interpret it in a particular way. So it is important, I'm saying here, that we put things in context so that the viewers, the listeners, the readers can understand. You know, and if you don't have that on, if you cannot interpret what you have told, you know, I think we're doing our audience and this service. Let's take, for example, the budget. I think everybody you know, would be able to understand all these figures and all these votes and things that is in the budget, in a budget. So we as media people now have to understand that. We have to be able to interpret that this means that this means the people in this side of the island will not be getting any roads fixed, for example, in the next year. So we have to be able to interpret. I think that is very, very important in this area. Now, I'm seeing some questions that are also coming up. Would you recommend organizations such as ECADE and others provide a level of training for media houses on how to carry human rights, LGBTI issues? Yes, I will. And that's why we are doing this, so that organizations like ECADE and the Grenada Human Rights Organization and all the United and Strong and all these other organizations that are part of ECADE, we need to, training is important. And so we should also try to engage media houses because there's a right and a wrong way. You know, for example, I'm seeing in recent times that there are media houses who would put some gruesome pictures up, you know, without understanding the implications, both for those connected, etc. So training for media houses is important. I have been trying to do that in my corner. I have a platform that I operate. That's Conception News Network. So it's conceptionnewsnetwork.com, and we are trying to use it as a platform. So where media have to, of course, to train journalists as well as to be a hub for advocacy. What Karen is also asking, what do you think about social media as a way to impact change as it relates to youths? Again, because I believe nowadays youths don't really take the time to read a newspaper or watch the news. They find the information on social media like Facebook. No problem at all. No problem at all. The source of your news, okay, can come from newspapers. The Times, I know that news comes in your hands. Wherever you are, you can get the updates on what's happening. So the question is, what do you think about social media as a way to impact change as it relates to youths? If youths are your target, please use the media, and there are certain ways in which you can use the media in this. Now I'm seeing Maria is asking to make a comment. Yes, Maria, you can make a comment.
Yeah, I did want to speak about the comment regarding training media practitioners, and I fully agree. When I was with United and Strong, we did have a project that looked at training media practitioners. There are two things that we encountered. One is, as you know, Milton, you work in the media, and the media is so stretched in the region, and it's very difficult to get them into any substantial training unless you get them away from their country, literally, and bring them in like a 3 or 4 day workshop where they'll be sequestered. And even then you'll find some of them still doing work because they have to do a report about the training while they're there, etc. So, you know, that would require a little more funds. So what we have tried, but that's still on the table there. That the difficulty doesn't mean we abandon it. We're still going to be doing that, where we can try to bring media workers together and have maybe like a 4-hour training or something less. But we found that usually it wastes a lot of time because they say they're going to come, then they come and they just want to do a short story, get a comment from you and then leave and not actually stay for the training. But we still want to try to continue doing that. What we've resorted to doing is when we have sent out stories, or when we see stories that crop up, and then we see certain issues that could be addressed, it helps because it's a direct, you're making a direct connection. So you can say, hey, I saw you this story that you put up. Because thank you so much for covering, let's say, for example, Barbados Civil Union announcement recently. Thank you so much for covering that. But I wanted to point out that the pictures you use, you kind of use a picture of all these white men in thongs and pride, which is not what the LGBT community in the region is about. How about I send you some images that you can use in the future? How about I direct you to my YouTube channel, which has, because ECADE's YouTube channel has all the different prides from the region. We have a stock of different video, etc. that's been done by LGBTQI activists in the region. So I could say, hey, let me direct you. This is a link to ECADE's YouTube. You can find a bunch of videos and there you could pull from that, which is actual real Caribbean people doing things in the region, and that is what represents us. And of course, even then, don't just pull out the one that shows the scandalous man, because then you have to ask, what are you as a reporter? What are you trying to say when you pull out those images? And then you ignore the images, for example, of us doing trainings, images of doing stands and that kind of thing. So I think when the story comes out is a good time. It's a little more time consuming. Well, it's not more time consuming, because if you break it down, you're developing a relationship, which is important. But the same time you'd have spent in doing a training, developing a training, you know, reminding them, sending logistics out. It's kind of the same time that you'll be spending when you call them and say, hey, and again, you're developing that relationship. So you call them and say, hey, I saw this story. Thank you so much for doing it. But, you know, I noticed you did this. Can you tell me why you use that term? Or these are the right terms? GLAD, we use GLAD. GLAD has a website where they go down through the LGBTQI description of how the acronym itself, what it means, what each word means. You could send them those links and say, hey, I know you use this, and I know it could be a bit confusing because things change. Let me send you some resources. So it helps to build relationships at the same time, but also you also taking the opportunity to find out where that person is coming from, and, you know, give them resources and let them know what might be a little less leading for the audience or less biased for the audience, because you don't want to make them think you're trying to lean things towards your side or try to tell them how to do their work. You just want to say, well, you know, these are the options that you have. And if you want to be neutral, this is the kind of language that you use, which is respectful and neutral, not towards us, but just, you know, being respectful and neutral. So while we may not be able to do the training all the time, we're still trying to get that done. It's still good, and all of us could do it. If one story comes out and 3 of us call the reporter, I don't see nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree.
Out there, and then they know in the future they can call you if they want to comment or they want something on an issue that's happening. They know they have your number, they know they have your contact, your email and stuff. So if 3 of us call somebody about a Barbados story and we say, hey, you know, you were watching, they know people are watching and they know they have a resource in us where possible. So that's one way to do the training as you go along, kind of thing.
Okay. And I think this exercise here is to help us as advocates, as organizations, advocacy organizations that want to get our messages out there. And, yes, it's important that we know and understand how they function. So when we go to them, we could, it doesn't matter if they're trying to do us a favor. These are the facts. These are the facts. We are coming to you with necessarily opinion. And most times journalists don't take time to research I mentioned that early on. I mean, a story, an issue come up, and they just go with an emotional outburst. We need to take time to do the research, find out why things are the way they are, and ask the right questions. And even as I'm saying, even us doing this here is an opportunity for us to know that we can approach journalists, we can approach media houses, and sit down with them and say, this is what it means, this article or this issue or this story, so that we can get the message out there accurately. Because we might tell them this, give them the facts, and they will twist it in their own way just to make you look negative also. But it's an opportunity for us to take this media thing seriously, and because we depend on the media. Not all the time, of course, we can do word of mouth, but we depend on the media to get a message out there. And if they are committed to, if they are meant to be the mouthpieces, as it were, so that people can know what we are saying, they ought to take the responsibility seriously. And don't be afraid to speak to them. I said, this is what it is. I mean, and if they object, again, the media can have a say in terms of access, So yeah, we need to train. We need to train them, and we need to know as people involved, depending on the media, we need to let them know these are the issues, and this is what it is. All right, so right, I've gotten some questions. And probably we can share your own thoughts. You might have examples of what it is. Probably you have a burning issue, a cause that you want, and you would have gone to a media house, and they say, well, I'm interested in that. That's not, well, okay, but the information needs to go out really and truly. So I asked the question earlier on, what is news? I of course already explained the issue about food estate. What is news? Once we have an item that is newsworthy, that is important for people to know, we have to assist in the interpretation of that and to get the society and everybody to understand what is taking place. Do we have any other question that we can look at this time? Okay, I'm just trying to look at the comments. Thank you very much, Bennett Charles, sorry. I often hear reporters and journalists say, it's my story. How do you strike a balance between getting your story heard and it being the reporter's story? Well, how do you? Well, of course, you can always also write. One of the things that I'll be doing as we continue to be part of this network is to help us to write our own stories, help us to write our press releases. I mean, these days, the journalists are so laid back. All they do, you write a press release, and they just take it and put it as is, asking no question. So share your story, and we are to have the ability to write. So yes, we are going to be able to write. All the organizations that I'm a part of, I'm going to assist, help in putting together press releases, statements, etc., so that we can get it out, and in a balanced way too, and in a balanced way, not just emotional reaction or response. I think the question though, how do you strike a balance between getting your story heard and it being the reporter's story? We have to also make alliances as advocates. These are something that we're going to be doing in the next slide, in the next session. We have to make alliances. And just to give you a little hint, I'm aware that the media is not really our adversary. The media is our alliance. We work together. And if we try to function on that level, we are partners. They need information that we have, and we need information. We need them, and they need us. So I see the media and advocates, as allies, and let's build that relationship. It might not be easy because the same people who are in the media came from the same society that we are living in, and with all kinds of ideas and views and so on. They too come with their own ideas and their own thinking, but we have to remind them it's not about an issue where I'm sharing my opinion. They are involved in a professional activity called work, and they have to, do it professionally. You won't say that because this person is my friend, I will not write a story. Well, that's an editorial matter, but I'm just using that as an example. But the issue is that we need to understand that we have a professional job to do, and at the end of the day, it is important that we give accurate information, reliable, balanced information. I think that's what we want to do as media people. That's what I would like to do as a media person and someone who understands what is to be an advocate. All deal with media. Yes, we need to be able to deal with those issues in a professional, balanced, and accurate manner. I want to thank, okay, I'm seeing again, another comment. It says, I have recently heard some communications experts at the conference say that press releases are no longer effective. What do you think? Well, I guess no longer effective. It can be used as an effective tool. The journalist who has his, who is on top of the game would use the press release as a lead to get further stories. Because if I write a press release on the from the Grenada Human Rights Organization, I obviously will speak about what the organization is doing. But if you take the press release as is, and you don't ask questions or go deeper into the issues, I think they are effective still. Just get the right media person to deal with it. Most times that is a cue for something. It's not the whole story. It's not the whole story. It's a gauge, a guide, an indicator of something. Yes, I want to say, basically we'll continue the other part of it, which deals with the advocacy and media, as an advocate. Yeah, I mean, let's not take our roles lightly. We are advocates. And we have a great part to play in sharing information, sharing knowledge, and training for media, training for advocates, training for anybody who's going out there to deal with the community, to pass on information and knowledge, and to be able to interpret and to be able to get people to understand things a little bit better. So, we all can. We all do need to give some attention to this whole issue of how we relate to and how we share and disseminate information. Okay, yes, I'm seeing some thanks there. Caroline is also expressing appreciation. This was very informative. Thank you, Caroline, for jumping in. I do appreciate that. Deborah B says, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and light with us. Milton Coy, thank you.
And Milton, you have someone hands up, Della, trying to say something.
Yes, please. Just okay. Thank you. For some reason, I'm not seeing those hands. But however, yes, somebody is speaking. Yeah, Della, sorry. Go ahead. Della, I'm not hearing you. Are you saying? Della, are you there?
Della, you may have to type it, audio not coming through.
Are you hearing me?
Now we are.
Yes, now we are.
Okay, great. I was going to, a lot of what I was going to say, you've already covered and you've already reiterated. But I just wanted to let persons know that at the end of the day, it is your news and your story. It is your information that you want out there. And you have the freedom to tell that story in whatever way you choose. When you begin to study public relations, the very first thing that they tell you two things. One, the story is yours and you're supposed to create it. And two, reporters are lazy. Now, I'm sorry for using that word, but that is the actual word that is in the textbooks. Reporters are lazy. They don't want to write the stories, they don't want to do research, and they don't want to create the atmosphere. So you have the freedom and you have the opportunity to do that, to give them all of the information and to tell your story in the way you want it to be told, to give the information and the highlight that you want out there in the general public. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that should a reporter come back to you now with questions on your press release or this story that you have brought about to them, um, reporters can be very tactful in turning you around to get the story or the information that they want. And it is
Somehow you dropped off. Della, I'm not hearing you. I don't know if it's just me alone that's not hearing you. We seem to have had a cut there, a break there from Della. But what you're saying is correct. You know we have to take control. And that's one of the reasons why,
to decline. You have the right to say, well, we're not interested in having this interview. We're not interested in carrying this story because it is not our motive. It is not what we want to say, and to decline the interview or to decline giving them any information. Because at the end of the day, the story is not that of the reporter, but it is that of your organization, and it's what you want to say. It's what information you want to get out there to the general public.
Yes, I think you are right. Yes, I think you are right on target. I somehow did not mention and talk about the media, the issue of public relations. That's another part that is very important. And also organizations, several organizations I know, there's a space for public relations officer. And that person has to not just, I always say, we just do not just put people in positions. Somebody who is a public relations officer, just by the name of it, tells you that they have to have a very good relationship with the public, both the organization and the public. And so we need to understand these, and this kind of training helps because you are able to get your message out there and you're able to represent the image, as it were, of the organization. Yeah. Not seen. Okay. Okay. All right. So, any other question? Any other comments that will make? I want to. Maria, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add. From a communications standpoint, I also know that you have some experience in that area.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I take what Della is saying, but we do have to, when you're communicating with the media, like the comment she spoke about when she said the text says reporters are lazy. Yes, that is said in the text. And she kind of apologized in a sense for saying it so boldly. And that in itself is a hint. Because yes, we may think reporters are lazy, but we could never give them that impression that we believe they're lazy, or that, because it's a very fine line to walk between directing them and letting people feel as if you're telling them how to do their job, or that you're saying that they're doing things wrong. So it's a very thin line, and you have to be very careful how you navigate in giving them information. Never give them, when you write a press release, of course, that is from your perspective, right? From your point of view, try to craft the narrative that you would like to have out there. When you do an interview, likewise. But when you are quote unquote correcting, or you following up on a story, let's say you're following up for a reporter, you try to ensure you don't give the impression that, hey, I think what you're doing is wrong, or you have it wrong. Don't get into no quarrel with reporters if you kind of avoid it. There are some who are clearly conservative or clearly biased. You have to be careful before you even call them to know, okay, this person might rile me up and I don't want to say the wrong thing. Because even if they're biased, you don't want them to think that you are against them. You want them to know you appreciate them putting the story out there, but, right? You have the but in there, and you seek to always engage, but be very, even those who just don't have time, they just put your press release verbatim, which is fantastic. That's what you would really want. But those who do seek the further comments and stuff, as Della said, you have to be very careful. They will pull you in and try to make you say things you don't want to say. Kenita has a lot of experience with that. Kenita has been in the firing line when they were trying to do all kind of things. Something happened in Timbuktu. It's like, hey, we're supposed to comment about it because it happens. And you have to be ready to not be drawn in. But again, it's always a very thin line, which is why we can never have too many of those sessions. And as many as we can have, I know you on next week, and then as many as we can have, it's fantastic, because you can never be fully prepared. There's always a reporter who might try to, you know, draw you in and make you say something that is not quite the message that you would like to be giving at that time. So it's just a continuous learning, a continuous practice.
Yeah, correct. I agree. Thanks.
And yes, I want to co-sign what Deborah said. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and light. Definitely.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, as an advocate, I enjoy this. I start with a cause, and the cause in this case is the cause of people understanding, really getting to understand how the media functions, so that we can use the media, not use in a negative way, but we can use the media as our ally. And somebody said a while ago, confrontational. We don't need to be. They are allies, and you know, the same people in media. I mean, sometimes I have great compassion, because so many things, the environment, the conditions, they function. But I always say, even if you know you're going to be this comes with some issues. You have to be able to be, you know, committed to the cause of sharing, the cause of informing. It's a cause. Just as how, you know, I stand for human rights and all aspects of human rights, doesn't matter who. Yeah, it's a cause. And I think that the media also has a cause. I mentioned earlier on that the media, I saw a statement and I've gone into it. The media as a leader in change, you know, the media. And if media people with you know, with some advocacy behind them, change, certainly, because, you know, social media, what you put up, what you say, how you say it, you know, can have great impact on us accomplishing our mission. We all are on a mission, and we need to, you know, get it out there in the best way we can. And so I think I agree, and thanks, Maria, that it's something that we'll continue to do at all levels. Seek to know how to navigate and engage and get maximum out of media. You know, the same media creates all kind of controversy. The same media, you know, they would say things that you didn't say, and everything that you know, and the society now will just take it on and just run with it in a negative space. You know? So yes, we do need to beef up this arm, this part of our mission, of our work, so that we can reach further, really and truly. All right.
Milton, as we speak about engaging the media and you know, the advocacy we do, I do for persons who are on here that are actually with organizations. I would like to know, one, do you have a strategy plan? Do you have a communication strategy, or do you have a communication plan for the media that you have been doing or you wish to do?
Yes, I do have. In fact, one of the reasons why I went ahead and tried to have my own platform is for the same reason. There are people there are times people wouldn't give you access. And so the plan exists that, to create a platform really where people can have an opportunity to express themselves, and I have developed, along with some other colleagues, a communications plan. Yes, talks about, how we function, what are the values that we uphold, etc. As well as there are other technical things in it, in terms of structure, etc. But yes, I would recommend that organizations, you really should, led by your public relations officer, develop a communications plan for the organizations, so we can know how to navigate. When one door is closed, we have another space, because the issues are getting hot in some cases, and people are becoming angry in so many ways, for whatever reasons. But we need to be able to have that plan, what the values, structures, systems, etc. So I would encourage, Kenita, that all of us belong to organizations, even though we are not the PRO, as we would say. Let's try to ensure that there's a plan, how we deal with media, how we deal with the public society. Yeah. All right. There's another comment I want to make, coming out of what was said earlier on, the idea that the media, I'm just trying to get back the comment I want to refer to. Oh, yes, the idea of media and society. Now you understand. So do you really think that the media influences society, or society influences the media? Again, of course, I've heard the question. I mean, I've heard the response that people say, the media.
I actually think it's both, Milton, because I think it depends on the society that we're dealing with. Media do have a lot of mileage and a lot of square footage in terms of what it can put out there, but the people that are in media are actually socialized within a society. And so you kind of have a dual effect, kind of a circular in what comes back out. So I do think that there is both ends kind of happening continuously.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I made the comment that the same reporters and journalists live within a community. They go home when they finish, and they hear the gossips, and they hear the old talk on the block, or whatever. I mean, it's on social media, and does that influence them? So in a case of that, one would think that the society influences. So when the next day they're going to write a story, they will put a lot of what influenced the thinking and the understanding and the interpretation, as it were. So yeah, it's both sides. I mean, the question is asked, and I know if you say that the media, you're not wrong. If you say the society, you're not wrong. Both influence each other, and we have to find ourselves in that space as advocates. Don't forget, this is about advocacy. This is about activism. This is about being a mouthpiece, as it were, for vulnerable people, for marginalized people. So yes, we speak on their behalf, as it were.